ナードホールズ、ケイレブとウィル、ドラゴンボールを視聴。
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Holes Dragon Ball Rewatch Cast. Yeah. So we are starting Saga 4 today. Season 4, Saga 4, the General Blue Saga. So we are covering episodes 46 to which one?
Beware.
53? No, 52. No, 51. Sorry.
51. Yeah.
51. Yep. Yes. So we are doing Bulma's Bad Day, Kami House Found, Deep Blue Sea, Roshi Surprise, The Trap Has Sprung, and Beware of Robot. Yeah. You know what's funny? A lot of times the Japanese titles for these are a lot better.
Yes. Yeah. I can imagine.
So like 51, for example, Beware of Robot. It's like very much like okay.
Yeah, right. Okay, right.
So the Japanese title is translates to English. It's the security guard at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh.
It's like such a better, like, foreboding title than just Beware of Robot.
That's funny. It is funny, actually.
The Trap Is Sprung is the pirate's trap. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Deep Blue Sea is General Blue begins attacking. It's like very like directly. Kami House is discovered, not Kami House found. And then the other one is Bulma's big failure, not Bulma's bad day. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. She did fail. She had a big failure that day. She's an idiot.
Yep. Big dumb idiot.
Big dumb stupid head. Yeah, so we'll just jump right in. Like we usually do. I always kind of ask you, like, what are your thoughts on this saga in the beginning of this saga?
Yeah. Well, it is pretty cool to be like 50 episodes in.
Yeah, right.
It's like a separate season has happened according to Funimation,
yeah.
But
I liked it. I like that they're all like numeric like that.
Yeah. But I think much like when you watched, was it What Little Girls Are Made Of, or it was Operation Annihilate? I don't remember which one exactly was the first one, but the first three were like I wasn't really in love with it. I had a hard time with them.
Yeah.
The last three, though, I enjoyed a lot, specifically 50 and 51. Like those two, I really, really, really. Oh, well. I think his 49 is also Roshi Surprise. Is that when they show up at his house?
Yes. Yeah.
So that too. So yeah. So the last three, but like the first three, I don't know. I just like there was stuff that I didn't like in it, but also it just felt very weirdly paced. Like it kept trying to be like, oh well, this really, this guy's trying to get the Dragon Balls and they're hunting down Goku and all this stuff. And terrible things are happening to Bulma in Bulma's Bad Day, but it just never feels. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
So yeah, I kind of agree with that. So the plot is like Bulma and Goku go to find that Dragon Ball. It ends up being in the middle of the ocean,
right?
And they can't dive. Goku can't hold his breath long enough to get down there.
Right.
So he leaves Bulma on the beach, and she runs off looking for a shopping center, which she's on a
which is
deserted island, but
weird, but yeah.
yeah, it's what it is. Um, yeah. So then they go. Goku says, "Oh well, Master Roshi lives out here in the ocean."
Right.
So luckily, it's the same ocean, but
right.
so he's like, "Oh, Master Roshi's got to have a submarine." Now, it's like right off the bat, you're thinking like I've seen a lot of Master Roshi
Yeah.
to know that he probably doesn't have a submarine.
Right. Like he also was like he rode the turtle everywhere.
Yeah.
It was like the big thing, and like I don't know when they leave the house to like go train and stuff, like they don't really show him using anything.
No, and specifically when they leave the Roshi house to go to the tournament, they take like a public airplane.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now all of a sudden he has like a spaceship submarine
Yeah, like and
that like
everything
launch goes to the nearby
with
shore to
Krillin,
buy
right?
like groceries.
Yeah. Which was like it's like one of those things that I like it. I like that that's how they're like I enjoyed the fact that like Krillin and Launch and Roshi and the turtle guy were all like having home life. Like they were just
Mhm.
doing their
Yeah.
own thing, but exactly what you said, which was it was really bizarre to suddenly just be like, well, he has it, and you're just like, does he?
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe he has like a capsule now because like launch is there and she needs public like transportation and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he
Or
got it
like or
since.
like at the tournament, Bulma gave him one or something. Like it's not impossible to
No. Mm-mm.
yeah. Deep Blue Sea was fine. It just is I don't know, it was just kind of boring. It was a lot of like
Yeah.
I liked Krillin being in the submarine and like following them, but it was very much just like it felt very unnecessary, a lot of what was happening in the episode. But
Yeah. That's the one where they find the cave, right? Eventually they
yeah, and they shoot at him and yeah.
it was a lot of it was literally like that was the main part of that episode was like that's the story is them finding the cave.
The cave, right.
But the whole episode was basically just Roshi at the house doing
Right.
stuff.
Right, exactly.
Like that was the point of the episode. It's like I don't care. I don't
Yeah,
care about
right.
this stuff.
Right. Like he's funny. He's a funny character, but it's just like they just stuck on it for too long for it to really kind of be meaningless.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when they do the silly stuff or they end up doing something like it matters because long term it comes back to something. Kind of like Launch doing the sneezing transformation.
Yeah, right.
Like funny, but then eventually it actually becomes useful.
Yeah.
And
Right,
I
right.
also super enjoyed the fact that when she transforms in the house, Roshi's kind of like he's able to kind of persuade her. Now, like
Yeah.
obviously he goes too far with it, but
Yeah.
I like the fact that like she's not like the Hulk. She's just
Yeah,
more of
right.
like a different personality, and I like that more than every single time she transforms, she's beating up anybody who's in her way. It's like,
Yeah. It's the first time you've seen her like transform and be like ask questions like where
right,
am I? Are
exactly,
we
exactly,
roommates? Is this like normal?
right,
Is this
yeah. And I like that a lot, and I
normally she just starts shooting.
right, and I don't, because I don't know what's gonna come ahead, but it's a thing where that type of revelation, like that type of give you information, I liked. It made me think like, oh well, maybe down the road, like the other side of launch will like develop more, and it's like she can be useful both ways rather than being like, isn't it cool that this one version cooks us food and the other version always shoots at us? It's like, it's okay.
Yeah, do something with it, right?
Right, exactly. And I like the fact that, you know,
Mhm.
she ended up helping Roshi like fight the guys off and all that good stuff. I really
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I like too the turtle is back. It's the first time he's been
Yeah.
on the island.
Right.
And he has
My
a son apparently.
my son. Yeah. I was like, oh, he's out in the ocean getting eaten.
Yeah. Goku already ate the other 3 kids, but
Yeah. So going to Bulma, I think it's Bulma's bad day for. Is his name General Blue? Is that the new guy? Right.
General Blue, yeah.
Okay. So the really funny thing was, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, you may not, but in specifically, it's either that episode or Kame House Found. It's either that I can't remember exactly which one it was. I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. When they introduce him and he's like in the command area with
Mm-hmm.
everybody, and he has he the, specifically that episode he did some things, he had some mannerisms, and he had some voice inflections. And I was like, this isn't the guy I'm copying, but I was like, is this the guy that Caleb is copying? Anytime we do that, like that voice of like anybody, it's like it's hard to explain. It's like the voices where you're like, oh, well, I'm sure we'll find him over here. Like that voice,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
that specifically that episode, I was like, this guy sounds a lot like the type of voices that you and I do like constantly.
Yeah. I think that's probably like where like this is stuck in our brain from like a lot of the stuff in the 90s was
Yeah,
like anybody who was like pompous or like really
yeah.
sure of themselves in TV or cartoons like always had this like almost British like
It's what's his name? It's Thurston. Isn't his name Thurston Howell from Gilligan's Island? It's
oh
basically
yeah.
like that, right? Kind of.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, the rich guy.
The
Yeah.
rich guy, the rich husband, yeah. Oh, I'm not really sure, but it's just like more it's more
Yeah.
like subtle. He's not as big as that character from Gilligan's Island. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that, but it's like he's like a pretty boy.
Yeah, yes,
So
yes.
he's like very like into himself. Even when he's like looking in the mirror and stuff, you know.
He kind of also does like Doctor Evil things. I mean, obviously Doctor Evil is doing things that he's doing because this came first, but it's just like he's like, oh, and he goes like this, oh, and he talks about things and he's like really
You
excited, Oh
know
man.
who he reminds me of is James from Team Rocket,
Oh yes.
right?
Yes, yes. That's
I
a
think that's
great
what
way to put it.
I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, wow, yeah.
that's kind of the vibe that you get is
That's a much better closer comparison because that is
even
a
with like the
that
rose and
voice.
everything.
Yeah.
He's always
Yes.
picking the rose, and
And he
James is
crushes
always
it.
like holding the rose. Yeah. It's like this rose. But
So
the funniest thing is like you see him and you're like, this guy is so not a threat at all. Like he's not like
right.
intimidating, he's not scary. And then he's like, did you just sneeze in my general direction? And the guy's like, oh yes, sorry, sir. Or no, he's picking his nose. That's what it was.
Yeah. And it's
He was
like on
picking
his
his
finger
nose.
too.
He's
Yeah.
like, I wasn't picking it. He's like, the evidence is on your finger. Take him outside and execute him.
And he's like, no, it's okay, it's okay. And then it's just like and then it's like it came up, I had subtitles on it, it said commotion. And I was like, it doesn't it's
It's
clearly
not. Yeah.
gunfire. It's like
Yeah.
I
Which is funny. It leads me to believe, like in the Japanese
yes,
version,
please, yes. Yeah.
are they like beating him up in Japanese version or
That's the thing I wondered is like I really sometimes wish there was like a direct translation rather than interpretation or a reimagining of the voices because when that happens I'm like in Japanese is he really upset with him for picking his nose and he has a thing on there like what is actually happening in this scene?
I'm sure that is accurate. I
Okay.
just wonder if like I just wonder if like they're really like executing him out back.
Possibly. What's the other one too? He executes another guy in the thing too. I forget what it is. Is it because he misses the missile shot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I
And
have
then
a
that guy
family. I have a family.
yeah, yeah, what the heck? He's like, oh, I'm just trying to feed my kids and
Yeah.
blam, 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 blam. I'm like, wow.
Well,
guy is serious.
it's it has to be levels of how awful they are, right? It's like
Well,
Colonel
yeah,
Silver, he
Silver
kills
was pretty rough.
shopkeepers,
Yeah.
right? He kills shopkeepers, and then you have General Red. Is that what his name was?
General Red. Yeah.
And
You know what's
then
funny too is like this is like the first part of the saga where we've seen General Red like not just in his command chair,
oh yeah,
and you're starting to see now like okay, this guy is like he's not like super serious either. This guy is completely unhinged.
yeah. When they
I
showed him
told you
little,
not to stand next to me.
yeah, when he was little, I was like, oh no. But what's the
His
other guy? That's General Red, the other guy.
oh the guy in the muscle tower.
Yeah, because he's like the next threat. It's literally was like Colonel Silver, that guy, and
Yeah,
then because General Red's like looking over all of it.
he's like the command guy.
Was he
Yeah,
like General White or something?
it was White. That's what it was. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But he had white hair. Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So yeah, I like that. I don't think we have to spend like an enormous amount of time, but you and I briefly talked about it the other night when the two helicopter guys show up for Bulma on the island
Mm-hmm.
and they make some indications of what their intentions are, and then it keeps going that way with it.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Besides the obvious of having an issue with what they were implying and how kind of lighthearted they were making about it,
Mm-hmm.
was what you said earlier before we recorded, which was she goes down the embankment,
Yeah.
they go down the embankment, she gets back up, they go to the other side, and it's a big like ravine.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I gotta get out of here." And he's like, "We gotta get over there." And then it just cuts to her running and them shooting at her again. And I was like, they're on the other side of where the
Uh-huh.
helicopter thingies are. How did she not just get in one and like fly? That's I totally thought that's what was going to happen.
No, that
It
makes so
it
much sense. Go.
it made
You got
it was
you got to remember Goku has to save her.
yes, I know.
That's the dynamic of the relationship, you know.
Yeah,
The dynamic of the relationship is that Goku always saves her and she yells at him.
yes,
that's that's the dynamic.
yeah. I
There's some funny stuff where they're all hanging on that cliff, like almost falling into the lava too, where it's just like
oh yeah.
if you guys would spend less time screwing around.
Yeah. I did like her kicking Krillin in the head like so many times, though. That really made me laugh because he was just like, "Oh no, I would never do such a thing," and he was like, and she's like, "I can feel you still looking at me," and he's like, ah, like trying to hang on, getting kicked in the
Yeah.
mouth.
And
That
poor
made me laugh.
Goku's just holding on like one handed to the
Yeah,
oh my god.
yeah,
That was good.
but yeah, there was just I don't know. I think it was just because that episode started and it just I was just there was so much of that first episode that we watched. I was just like, oh, and it
Even
just
with
was
like her she pulls out that capsule thing and it's like her dad's capsules and it was all
yeah,
like magazines.
exactly.
And I'm just like, why does every
Like every
single
like
male character in the show have to be just like perverts? Except for Goku. Because they're really
yeah,
showing you like Goku is this pure hearted, innocent
yeah.
kid, and everybody else is just disgusting.
Just and you're like, oh, okay, like yeah.
Yeah.
Guess that tells you what animators and writers of Japan thought of their
Well,
fellow people.
it is true over there, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did like
Yeah.
I like the micro band a lot. I don't know why.
That's
I dig
cool. That's a
it.
cool
I
thing.
don't know why it's like I when she like looks at the thing and there's only like three or four lights
Yeah,
or
there's like
buttons
three
on it,
buttons.
and I'm like, that's cool. Just like I don't know, just
To the
I
point
just
where Roshi was like, all right, let's see. Do I push this one or do I push this one? It's like,
right. Yeah.
There's an M for mini and a W for wombo.
Wombo, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you knew exactly when he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll let you use the submarine. I just want that watch." And she's like, "Really? That's it?"
Yeah.
You knew right off the bat, like, that's he is not responsible enough to have that technology.
No, no. Yeah. Don't you want more? A glass of iced tea. But yeah. But yeah, I liked Krillin returning and then him going in the space airplane submarine
How
thing.
how much of a terrible idea is it to have Launch be the one that goes and gets groceries in a town full of in a market full of spices and dust and dirt? Why would you
Yeah,
send her? And she's all, not to mention, she's also like a wanted criminal. Like
right.
she's wanted. Yeah, take Krillin, just go into this thing. It's also
Yeah,
funny
it's
to me that
fine.
Krillin's wearing his like
Oh yeah, he is.
his old uniform.
Yeah, he doesn't wear that gi anymore.
His Orin uniform, right? Wasn't it Orin
Yeah, I
House?
think
Yeah.
so. That sounds right. Yeah.
So that's like, is he training? Is he still training in there? I don't know. Because he immediately forgot that like he could, oh, I can just jump these spikes because I also trained with Master Roshi.
Yeah.
It's like he hasn't been keeping up with his training. He's just
It was
on grocery duty.
that was an interesting thing because like, when Goku jumps and he's like, yeah, and I was just like, well, can't Krillin do that too? Like it's
Hmm.
kind of like and I
Yeah,
get it.
and he even like he even overshot it and hit his head on the ceiling because like it to me that implies that he's like out of practice.
Mm,
Like he didn't think he
yeah.
could really do it, so he like overextended his ability and hit his head.
Yeah. I think the only thing that's like hard for me to like I kind of like I don't want to say roll my eyes. I kind of were just like but I understand it's like a cartoon and it's just supposed to be for effect. But the thing that I have a hard time with something is like the stuff they do with Bulma. Like specifically
Hmm.
the helicopter's like shooting at her. Like
And she
she's
just keeps running.
outrunning that and I'm like I get it. I
Well,
get it.
at first it's like they weren't trying to shoot her at first, and
Right.
you're like, okay, whatever. But then that
Right.
second time they're like deliberately trying to shoot her, and they just keep like, it's
Right. And
the
when the
thing where
big
like both, yeah,
I was just gonna say, yeah, and yeah, right. Same when the big robot thing at the end is like shooting at them, like she always gets away, she always outruns it, and I'm just
mhm,
like, you haven't really set up this thing that like It's like you haven't set up that Bulma also has like really good reflexes. In fact, you've set up like she's kind of like an idiot kind of thing. She
mhm.
just has like technology in her hand.
Yeah, right. She's
So
just
that's kind
smart
of like a thing I don't. I'm always like, like it doesn't make sense to me.
for being
I
such a smart like scientist. She's very stupid.
I'd rather. I mean, that's my point. Is I'd rather see. I would have liked to have seen the animators and the writers go down the path of like outthinking things. Like she's like, oh geez, and then she's like, I'll use this piece of metal to deflect the bullets or whatever. Just something rather than just running in the same animation. And you're like, but I thought only Goku and maybe Krillin and Master
Yeah,
Roshi can like react this fast to things.
it's funny that
But
Goku hasn't used the Kamehameha either.
I thought he was going to in the last episode we watched was like shoot that thing and like, you know,
Yeah, he's too hungry.
yeah. I did like Krillin kicking the breaking the sword in half. That was cool.
That was cool. When they first start like teaming up against that robot together, it was like such a great like reunion of like those two
Yeah,
characters.
yeah. Yeah.
It's even funnier too. Like General Blue is kind of like watching from the corner, and he's like, "Oh yes, these are pretty good for children." It's like, dude, they've been taking on the entire army.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What are you gonna do any different? It's funny.
So
That
here's
robot was like indestructible too. That thing.
right, right. This is the thing that I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like trying to personally, I'm trying to understand the lore of Dragon Ball, like
Yeah.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the thing, and I don't know, and maybe you'll just laugh, but I don't really know. So they show the flashback of the guy who looks like the mucus guy. What was his name?
Oh, he does, doesn't he?
The captain looks like that guy. I
Oh
can't.
man, that's so funny. I was like, yeah, where's that guy look familiar?
Yeah, I can't remember what his name
Yeah,
is, but
yeah.
yeah.
Something B
Okay,
uh
if you remember it, yeah.
Bouillon.
No, 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 no. So so they show the flashback of all that stuff, but they're like in those style like three mass sail ships, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, whatever. They're pirates. Or she's telling the story. And then they go down into the cave, and then there's like electrical lights going, and I'm like, oh, okay, okay. And then there's like the skeleton and the skulls, and I'm like, okay. But then when the robot shows up, I'm like,
Mhm.
they're like, well, this robot was designed by the pirates to
Yar.
protect it, right? And I'm thinking, if how are like sail ship people building like robots? And there's another thing in there too.
They had a submarine. They had a full submarine docked in there.
Yeah. And there was something they
And
go into
trucks.
like
There was like trucks and tanks and
remember when Bulma goes into that room and she's like,
all the
oh man,
computers.
yeah, she's like, oh, my dad would love all this old stuff. And I was like, so they're not it's like a purposeful thing. They're not like, oh, it's pirates, but now also whatever,
Mhm.
robots. It's like a thing where they're specifically saying that however many years ago when like people were sailing the seas, they also had like decent like modern almost like technology from like the 80s or something. I don't know, like older like 60s technology
Yeah.
from this viewpoint. It just was really fascinating to me because at first I thought it was kind of like stupid that pirate sailing people could build rope like a robot of
Yeah.
that.
Well, yeah. So immediately when they're in that cave and Goku flips the lights on, you're like, okay, so this has been like turned into some modern base or something.
Right, right, right.
But then he finds that skull
Yeah,
and he's like, oh, yeah, I found it over here with those clothes. And it's like the skeleton, it's the pirate skeleton. And in
right.
front of the skeleton on the ground is like a modern like gun
Hmm.
laying
Yeah,
there
that's right. Yeah,
instead of a sword. And you're like, what?
right.
And then even when they go in there and they find all the other like pirate
Yeah,
bones, there's bullet holes in all the skulls
right.
instead of like so. But the one guy had the dagger,
He has like the thing in his, yeah.
so it's like yeah. So it's like in this universe, it's like pirates are they were on ships, but now they're like more advanced. So maybe it's like they were more like current pirate. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, like not to like make it always come back to Star Trek, but maybe I literally thought about what if they were like seafaring people and then like somebody came and gave them technology and then they went and like made their
Yeah,
own
right.
like new society with like, guns and like computers and stuff. It just was really fascinating to me because I said, I thought it was a just a dumb Saturday morning cartoon thing that these pirates could
Mm-hmm.
just make robots, but I almost feel like they're trying to say something about the past of this world that they're building. Like however long ago this stuff was,
It
like what was
almost
the world like?
it almost makes it seem like when Roshi's talking about that story of like the pirates and they're showing the pictures of the ships, it's almost like that's kind of like all people remember, but they kind of forget like years and years of like pirates being more advanced or like
Mhm.
after they've like,
Yeah.
gotten all their plunder, they kind of all tucked away and made little
Yeah.
like bases and stuff. I don't know. It is weird. It's a cool concept though. Like techie
Oh, me,
pirates is a
yeah.
cool
Totally,
because even
totally. I
that
mean,
robot, like what is that? What's that robot like based on? It's like you
he's
said,
got like
xenomorph. He's got like the long
he's
xenomorph.
and he's got the tail and he's kind of like a dinosaur turtle thing. But like you
He's got
said,
the
he
teeth. He's
has
got
like
the ape
yeah,
face,
he's got like an ape like jaw.
and his eyes glow.
Yeah.
Yar.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know what else is funny to me? It struck me. You probably know the character by like name, but you don't really know a ton about him. Is
Okay.
like so Cell.
Yeah.
Um, like his like first form. No, maybe it's his second form. Is very similar.
To what that thing looks like.
It's like the
Huh.
orange tail. Um, yeah. Maybe it's not second form. Yeah, I don't know. It's not exact, but it's just it gave me that kind of vibe where he's got the
Sure, sure.
tail and the tail's like very like segmented, like each segment is
Okay.
like circular.
Yeah.
And so that's it's funny too because like he's an android
Oh, yeah.
and this thing's a robot and it's like it's interesting where they take the same kind of designs. It's amazing to me too, like I don't remember in this show how much like robots and androids and stuff there were in Dragon Ball.
Hmm.
Um,
It's pretty
because that's
heavy.
like it's like a whole saga in Dragon Ball Z, and it's like the first time they act like it's the first time they've heard anything about that stuff. And
Yeah.
come to find out, it's like Goku has like tons of experience with like androids and robots as like a kid.
Right, right.
It's very, very funny to me.
Well, maybe there's an episode where he like loses his memory or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, mate. Does he lose his memory?
But I don't know. I just you never know. Because like normally you would think, oh,
He,
like you don't
I think
expect
he
a ton of
does.
continuity in these type of things, but then at the same time, like they call back to stuff or they bring up stuff that you're just like, oh, okay, like I didn't expect that to be a thing.
Hope to see moving forward, like watching it from the very beginning. It'll be interesting because that's
So
something that I have not done in a long, 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 long time,
gotcha.
if ever.
So going back to what you said, I think last podcast, did you when you watched this, did you remember any of it? Like, was any of
No,
it familiar?
mm-mm.
No, okay,
No, I don't remember any of it. In fact, I was just as surprised as you about like the pirate stuff,
gotcha.
like even like looking for the treasure and the
Yeah.
robot and all that stuff. And I don't remember General Blue like at all.
Hmm.
I remember Silver and White and Muscle Tower and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I didn't remember Blue.
Huh.
This might
It's
have
fun.
been this might have been parts of Ball where it kind of gets kind of, boring, I would say.
Mm.
Because so right now we're in General Blue Saga, and then the next is
Right,
Commander Red Saga.
right.
But then you get into 6, 7, 8, and 9, and it's more stuff that I remember like innately. It's very like important to the story. So I don't know. I almost wonder if like the General Blue and Red Saga is just kind of like wrapping up some of the Red Ribbon stuff.
Yeah,
And I don't remember it because like it wasn't interesting to me like as a kid.
I can imagine.
Because the rest of them are like tournaments and stuff. And it's like that's what I remember is like tournaments and him fighting, Ten Shinhan and Piccolo. And so yeah, I don't know. Might be in a
It's
stale.
it is um yeah, 153. Huh. Um there is, it's interesting that we're only there's not that like a ton ahead of us, Like I know we're not at the halfway point,
Yeah.
but like we're getting there. So it's really fascinating to me that
Well, that's what
we're in the middle here and it's still really well not in the middle, but we're close to the middle and it feels like not a lot has happened in the sense of like Goku is still kind of disconnected, like he still doesn't
Mhm.
really know a lot of things. and he is learning, but it's just like I just thought like, by now he would be kind of what you said. Basically, it was like it would be less about um like random adventures and more tournament based things, or like invaders, like thing like bad people coming to Earth and
Right.
like him having to
Yeah.
defend it as a kid or something.
Yeah, I think majority of that stuff gets kind of saved for like
Dragon Ball
young
Z.
adulthood. Well, no, that's not true. The King Piccolo saga is very much like something he has, like exactly what you just said, like something from a different planet he has to fight as a kid. It's like his
Makes
first
sense.
like major like battle for not just for fun and to look for Dragon Balls, but like to actually like save his friends and stuff.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. I think that's a pretty known saga. That's what most people remember from Dragon Ball.
Okay.
Um, and then that leads right into like the Saiyan saga from Dragon Ball Z, where like Raditz comes down and Vegeta comes down, and that's when like you start to figure out more about the Saiyans.
I see.
Yeah. So he kind of let Goku like have these fun adventures as a kid, and then they're like, okay, so now like let's explain where he comes
Yeah.
from, what the deal is with that, and yeah,
Cool.
which is fun. It's fun. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm interested to see how the rest of this plays out, because there's 6 more episodes.
Yeah.
And they don't even leave the cave. So the next 3 episodes are in the cave.
Right. That's what it seems like. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 54 is literally escape from Pirate Cave.
So I feel like, I mean, I don't really know. Obviously, I have no idea, and I'm not actually going to like go into it thinking this, but it might be interesting to think that the next six that we watch, that I'll like the first three and dislike the last three.
Yeah.
I doubt it, but it'd just be funny. But no, I I really liked the Roshi stuff when he defends the island. That was really good. And he
Yeah.
just that guy with the whip, and he was just like, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
what's that? Oh,
Yeah, they immediately start taking advantage of him because he's like this old dude.
yeah."
Like, oh, you have to be faster than that. Yeah. Oh, were you trying to whip me? Wow,
I
that's
felt the wind. He goes, "Oh, I
ah,
felt the wind
I
on that one."
felt the wind on that one. And he immediately just like, yeah, beats the crap. I love that. So yeah, I don't
Um,
know. These might have been on the list too, like the original list they gave you to like skip
oh no, on the
some of
original
these.
list, it's still here.
Was it?
Yeah, the ones that wanted us to skip was like the one like 45 was weren't supposed to watch that, and like in between like 29 to 33 we weren't supposed to watch. But
Oh,
like, oh well.
that's funny.
It is funny though. I don't know about you, but like the credits, like the ending credits of it are probably the last minute and a half to 2 minutes of the episode, right?
Uh-huh.
And then the intro is like a minute and a half long.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
And then like the recap
Last
is,
time on Dragon.
yeah,
Yeah.
is like 3 minutes long. So it's like you end up watching like 16 minutes of like, I don't know, just stuff, and it's just really funny because I'm like,
It does that
okay,
it does that
yeah,
thing that I usually hate in shows where they do the recap
yeah,
and you're like, okay, got it. And then the episode actually starts and it's like, a few minutes back to like the
mm,
last episode. So
yeah,
it's like where the last episode ends, it's like those first few minutes are like part of the last episode.
right.
So just like a new scene, starting a new scene. It's
Right.
they recap like dialogue, like they re-show it in that episode. Like that's part of this episode is like the same conversation that they had. And
Yeah,
sometimes even like
yeah,
voiceovers are left out of
yeah,
things.
yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird.
And the thing I think the one of the worst ones this go was Beware of Robot. Because
Mhm.
like you just went so far into the episode with the recap, and then you're sitting there watching it, and they're like showing it attacking, and then they just were playing out long scenes of the robot attacking them from the other episode.
Yar.
And I was like, I just saw this. Like, and I get it. I get it's like it's supposed to be a week later thing. And
Yeah.
it's a show
It's one of
for
those.
kids,
It's one
but
of those
still.
things that episode specifically is one of those things where it's like, oh man, I didn't think we were gonna be able to beat it, and then it jumps back out of the water, and it's like scene for scene, like again, like same
Well,
clips and stuff.
well, I'll tell you a Star Trek revelation that I made, and I was supposed to tell you podcasts ago, and I just remembered. And I didn't know this is how Star Trek operated, and it now makes me think about what you're talking about with like them replaying entire scenes.
Uh-huh.
Is the captain's log?
This is the recap.
You are watching past events.
Oh,
It is literally like you're supposed to be. It's
so
basically like the captain's log is like you're listening to him talk about things that have already happened, which indicate that like they're fine. It's like a weird thing that like when you watch this show like that, it's literally like we went to this planet, this thing happened. You're just like listening. You're just like you're getting like a visual representation of his like
so you're basically led to believe that like Captain Kirk is recounting his stories aboard the Starship Enterprise,
yeah,
or he's
more like
rereading his logs in court or something.
it's more like the Watcher from Marvel is like letting you watch like this part of Captain Kirk's
Hmm.
like journey dealing with this alien or this planet or whatever. And you have
Works
like all of
for
the benefit because you think about it when he says he talks about it, like the captain's logs are supposed to be catch you up, but they're also supposed to be um kind of letting you know to the audience that like they're not gonna die because there's a captain's log kind of thing. It's an interesting it's an interesting revelation.
interesting.
Somebody taught I was on a podcast and it was one of the writers of the show talked about it. No, they didn't specific they were talking more to the 90s television, 80s and 90s television, but I'm sure it was the same in the 60s. So
Right. Yeah.
just an interesting thing. I was just I meant to tell you on our podcast, but this reminded me when you were talking about like previously, it's like
Hmm.
it's kind of supposed to be like the same thing in a roundabout way.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's like a
Yeah,
yeah.
but that's okay. This is a Dragon
It's
Ball
cool.
podcast. I just thought you
No,
would like to know.
no Star Trek on this podcast.
Kill it, destroy it.
Yeah. So this is probably not our most favorite, like 6 episodes, right? I would think that's safe
Yeah,
to say.
to me, like I said, the first three I could have done without. I like Roshi's surprise. The trap is sprung and beware of Robot. I actually like those episodes. I enjoyed watching them. I loved all the booby trap stuff with the spears. I really thought they were gonna like use the spear ends to like bounce and like jump to the next one. And
Hmm.
I liked the
The
robot fight. I liked all that stuff. I even
you know
liked the bad
what's
guys like chasing him down the tunnel, like sneaking up behind him and being like, "Oh, I think they're down here." I don't know. I just like really was captivated with it, like all of it.
it's one of those funny things where it's like that guy's supposed to be watching him the whole time and then reporting back, and then
Oh
immediately they run down through the spike cavern.
yeah,
It's like, weren't you what? Okay.
no.
Yeah.
I also
He
like that they're
also
like it's like in their heads and they're all like, "We're all we don't think we can make
sorry,
it."
yeah.
Right? And I was just like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah. The other funny thing too is I thought like the same Well, yeah, because they do that. Yeah. So okay, yeah. So two things now.
Okay.
So originally I thought like Goku could just use like the power pole, extend the power pole to the other
Yeah.
end of that tunnel, and then
Yeah.
just kind of like wave it over the holes on the floor to activate
Oh,
all the spikes.
yeah.
And then, like later on, he uses Bulma holds the power pole and he extends the power pole and Bulma back.
Right.
So even like shadow over the holes doesn't cause spikes. You
No.
literally have to like step on it.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what I thought? I honestly thought they were gonna just run down the hallway and then just like run on the wall.
Oh, that would have been cool. Yeah, in retrospect, he could have probably extended it and had like Krillin and Bulma like crawl while he held it from the other side and then jumped. But
Yeah.
but yeah, or like you said, just like literally like take his stick and like poke each one and just like activate every single.
I like that he has the power pole.
Oh, me too. I think it's like a
It's such
super
like a
cool.
good plot
It's
device.
sometimes it's sometimes like those old cartoon shows like Popeye or like Captain Planet, where it's
Yeah,
like you're waiting the whole episode and then at the very end he gets out of it by using the thing,
yeah, the plot
right?
armor.
Yeah, right. It is
It's
sometimes
a
like
good
that in the show, but I do
it's a good
like it.
stick. Like
Yeah,
if you're playing like D&D or something, like you would if you had like
yeah,
a power pole, it would be a good
yeah.
like staff, staff of growth or whatever.
I
He cuts
also
right
kind
through that helicopter too with it.
he really
Remember?
does. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He like almost. I don't think he splits it, but he like crushes like three-fourths of it, right? Like
Yeah.
into the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are dead. That was too. I remember telling you like the continuity error. Like that one guy, like when they're
Oh,
talking to Bulma, that one guy is like a black guy and the other guy is
yeah,
white. And then
yeah,
when they come pick him up, they take two white guys away on the stretcher. It's
yeah.
like what? It's the same clip. They use the
The
same
same.
clip.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought that was funny.
It was funny. Yeah, I try to remember.
I thought you were saying there was another continuity thing in the first episode, but I don't remember what you said it was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the one was her literally being on the same side as the thing
Yeah.
of the helicopter things. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, oh man. I like when Bulma and Krillin try to shoot that missile at that robot and basically almost blow up Goku. That was pretty good.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah. That
got
was funny.
him. The robot's fine. The bridge is blown up and Goku's like against the wall.
Yeah, yeah,
How could you miss?
yeah.
How could you miss
Oh
that
my
badly? And
God.
then they even do it again where they like go to shoot the robot on the other side. The robot's
Yeah.
coming up the other side and they shoot him and it blasts the wall. And Goku's like, ah!
Yeah.
You hit him twice. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And
That's
then they have
never.
the nerve. They have the nerve. Like, what? Where have you been? Like after you got the rocks piled on top of him.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? He's like
Yeah.
laying there, and he's like, "Oh," and she's like, "Look
Oh.
out!" And it goes, "Bless."
Yeah. Yeah. I liked all that. Remember when the guy comes out around the house at Kame House? He's like, oh,
Yeah,
would you not like to join your friends here? And he's like, no, no, I'm a trainee. He says or something like that. That made me laugh.
that
Yeah.
was pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, I
cool,
don't know. I'm not gonna say that the stretch I didn't like all of it. I just half of it. I didn't enjoy half.
good. Well, maybe the second half will be a little better. But here's the thing: is I just saw this name that shows up in one of these last two episodes, and
A rail there or aerial or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
I see.
Really, yeah, I don't forget how they pronounce it, but yeah, so buckle up for that. That's good.
So you do
She
remember some
is
things. Okay.
she is a like separate um like manga character that they kind of did like a crossover with.
Oh,
Um,
so we have to watch all of that so I can understand who she
God,
is.
no,
Okay.
no. Yeah, so she shows up, and then even like later on in an episode, Dragon Ball Super is like a full-on episode where like she shows back up with Goku
Oh,
as like an adult, and it's
oh,
like fan service, but I don't know for what fans. Maybe there's a couple people out there that enjoy it, but she's not like a real crowd pleaser.
interesting. Okay,
She's not like a
interesting.
terrible character. It's just like a could have just kept it in the weekly comic in the
I see.
manga thing, because it was a tie over thing to like sell merch and push,
Oh,
that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So they didn't really need to carry it through, but
Well, that's okay. It won't be until January, so it's okay. 2024, baby.
yeah. Oh man, that's weird. We're finishing Saga 4 in 2024.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, then we can start General Red, and we can see why he has such a bad Scottish accent. That'll be fun.
That'll be interesting.
It's like he emphasizes certain words that like
He does. He does. He does.
It's like the guy's talking in English and then he remembers, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be Scottish.
Oh, bracket.
It's like, I want you to get that key and put it over there. It's like, did you forget you're supposed to?
Yeah, it's like
I want
sneaky.
you to find that
Oh.
young kid, and when you find him, I want you to kick him on down in the pants.
I
Kick
almost
him, Rod.
I almost forgot to tell you this, and I wanted specifically to say it to you, so just to make you laugh.
Okay.
I thought for sure, and I don't remember which episode it is, but basically, Commander Red is in the chair
When he's getting his
painted.
painting, yeah,
I
it was going to be terrible.
Two things. This is the first one that's going to make you laugh. The soldier guy that was standing like to the side,
Oh yeah.
and he tells him, he gives him the orders, and he walks out of the room. I literally was like, if Caleb or myself didn't have glasses, this is what I think we would look like in Dragon Ball. Maybe me specifically. And I was like, that guy kind of looks like me in Dragon Ball without glasses. And then he was like, and then he was like, go do this thing, laddie. And he was like, oi, commander. And I was like, no, no, no. So that was the first thing that made me laugh. And the second thing was the goat painter guy is making
Yeah.
is painting, and I would have been the poorest man on the earth because I would have bet everything under the sun that when he handed in the painting, it was gonna look like Goku's drawing of Bulma. I thought that's what it was gonna look. And then it just ended up being like beautiful and wonderful. And I was just like, oh, and I laughed out loud because I was like, that is not what I expected it to be. And that the joke really was is that he's like tiny and short. And in the painting, he's like massive next to, and the tall
It's really
black guy is.
It's really funny because like you don't notice that guy is standing like way in the back of the room.
Right.
Then he's like, oh, I want to see the painting. So he walks over. And as he walks over, he gets like taller and taller and taller. I told you not to stand next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the painting was gonna be better, or like the painting was gonna be like that soldier guy that came in was gonna be like bent over and covering up Commander Red's like face. Or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Pretty good.
So I'm glad I remembered that because I enjoyed that one. I thought that those two things.
Oh boy, that's good. All right, well that'll do it. So join us next month when we cover the back half of the General Blue saga. It'll be episodes 52 to 57. And then we'll do a Will has to answer his 7 Dragon Balls. He combines all the Dragon Balls and he makes a wish for the next saga. And he usually wishes for the same thing. So which of
Better.
course is the world's most comfortable pair of underwear. Better.
Tempting. It's
I want
tempting.
it to be
Better.
more good.
Yeah, it is tempting every time I do it. It is tempting to not just ask for the most comfortable
I
underwear.
would like Bulma to
Oh,
be
no.
dead.
Interesting.
Interesting. More oolong, please.
More oolong, less Bulma. Is there any way the show could just like shift to like Yamcha? Like it's just his story now. What's he doing?
Nothing. You've seen the most that he's ever contributed to Dragon Ball. Oh boy. Cool. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time then on another Dragon Ball.